Hello, what's up everybody? My name's Bailey and today I will be taking you along on the journey of my first month in Tales of the Shire. Now is probably a good time to mention that I'm not really a big Lord of the Rings fan. It's not that I don't like them, I have seen a couple of the movies, I just don't remember them very well, so if I miss any references, that is why. Please don't be mean to me in the comments. And with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get into the video. To begin, we made our hobbit after being woken up by a mysterious stranger. We fittingly named them Chica Chub. Get it? Because Chica in Five Nights at Freddy's likes eating, hobbits like eating. Please tell me somebody finds this as funny as I did. After character creation, the mysterious stranger revealed himself to be Gandalf and took us the rest of the way to Bywater, an adorable little village? Walking up the path in front of us, we met Orlo Proudfoot, a cheerful and spirited hobbit who took us to our new home. The house was a bit run down, so much so that the front door was blocked, but after exploring a bit, we found a side entrance just past a blocked-off garden. Entering our house, we started off like any hobbit should and made a second breakfast of silky porridge with tangy rhubarb, which looked pretty good even though I know I would definitely not like it in real life. We shared a meal with Orlo, and then we're off exploring the world. Orlo told us that we could use the birds as a way to guide us to wherever we needed to go, so we obviously took off in the complete opposite direction. We harvested a few forageables and then made our way to the Green Dragon, where we were introduced to Lily and Farmer Cotton. Farmer Cotton was arguing with Sandyman, the owner of the local mill, about whether or not Bywater was a village. Sandyman asked why we moved to Bywater, and when we answered, proceeded to insult us, earning himself the spot as our #1 enemy. That's just what we need, another hobbit with no ambition. Oh, Sandyman, I don't like you. All of the townsfolk weighed in with their opinions, and the conversation ended with us deciding we would help get to the bottom of whether or not Bywater was a village by searching for a book of rules, which was apparently in the possession of someone named Old Noakes. And thus began our wild chase to find this book of rules. On the way to Old Noakes, we found more forageables, including peaches and blackberries. When we finally caught up with Old Noakes, he told us he didn't have the book anymore, but he did give us his old fishing rod. This would be the first of many times that I had very little idea what I was doing mechanics-wise, but somehow still managed to achieve my goal. I caught a couple of fish and then realized it was starting to get late, so I went to bed after a great first day. On day 2, we started strong by going back to Old Noakes to show him the fish we caught, just for him to get mad at us and accuse us of stealing his fishing rod. We jogged his memory and reminded him that he gave us the fishing rod before wandering off to try and find Farmer Cotton, who Old Noakes said should have the book of rules. One detour through the forest collecting mushrooms later, and we were back in the village square where Farmer Cotton was tending to his farming stall. Farmer Cotton told us that the book had flowers in it, so he gave it to someone named Delphi. But to make up for the lack of book, he gave us a watering can and some seeds to get started on farming for ourselves. While farming seemed like a good idea in the near future, for now we were on a mission to find this book of rules, so we followed the birds back into the forest. We met Delphinium, who said she tried to use the book to press flowers, but it didn't work because the pages were all wet. She told us she gave the book to someone named Daisy, and suggested we talk to her mother, Willow. Since we had already done some foraging, we also showed Delphi what we had found, and traded our pepperwort for some delightful cranberry jam before calling it a night. We woke up on the morning of day 3 to rainy weather and decided to plant the potato seeds that Farmer Cotton had given us the day prior. We then made our way over to Willow's workshop, where we met Willow, who was immediately rude to us, saying that if we needed help fixing our new house, we should ask someone other than her. I didn't say ask me, did I? Chat, why is everybody here so, like, low-key rude? When we asked her about the book of rules, she brought us to her daughter Daisy, who said she gave it back to her mom, who said she gave it to Mrs. Cotton. Now, I'm gonna take a moment to rant for a second, but why did the game developers think that it was a good idea to send us on some wild goose chase to find this book of rules? I understand that this was a great way for us to be introduced to all of the characters, but oh my goodness, was it frustrating to go from one person to the next, thinking that we were gonna find this book just to have them say, oh sorry, actually I don't have it, I gave it to this other person. Anyway, rant aside, we did go find Lily Cotton. She gave us a bit of cooking advice, and then told us she gave the book back to old Ruby, the previous owner of our home. She suggested that we talk to Nora and Fosco, who were pretty close with old Ruby, since she was their teacher growing up. Back at home, we invited Nora and Fosco to a shared meal, the main friendship-making mechanic in the game, and spent the rest of the day fishing, foraging, and exploring the world. On the morning of day 4, we prepped the meals for Nora and Fosco, which unfortunately were not the bitter meals they asked for. This would become a common theme moving forward. I really struggled to be able to get exactly what the hobbits were asking for meal-wise due to lacking a lot of the ingredients that they wanted. However, I did learn that the meal cravings are not as important as the flavor itself, which was useful for getting the highest friendship gain after shared meals. I ran around a new area of the map and found sparage and raspberries before returning home and having 11sies at home with our new friends. We served very good fish cakes to Fosco and cool taters and beans to Nora, who both enjoyed the meals but didn't love them. They did the trick though, and afterwards, the two opened up to us about old Ruby. Apparently, she gave Nora a key as some sort of fidget toy during their lessons. We had found an old locked desk earlier on, so we asked Nora if we could have the key to test it, and sure enough, it opened up the desk. Inside, we found the Book of Rules, the same book we had been running around the entire town looking for. Hi, I'm in the midst of editing, and I have had the stream audio muted for the vast majority of the time I've been editing because I really only need to listen to the voiceover. But I just happened to unmute at the perfect time, and I need to show y'all this clip. You know what? Maybe, puppy, maybe when I turn like late 20s, early 30s, suddenly it'll be like I had my buccal fat removed. I'll just be like, who knows? Okay, sorry for the interruption, back into the video. As we were headed to go show the book to Orlo, we came upon a new face, a hobbit named Hobson Hornblower. Hobson is a purveyor of what he calls fine artifacts and quality goods, and he tried to sell us an elven swan figurine, which in reality was just a duck. We politely declined, but still looked at his remaining stock, ultimately deciding that we did not have the money to buy any of his fancy seasonings. Despite moments before saying we did not have the money to buy from Hobson, we then decided to buy some basil and bean seeds. We ran straight past Orlo, completely forgetting about our quest in favor of a shopping spree, and met young Tom Cotton, who sells various meats and animal products. We bought 2 cream and 2 milk and then asked him about his day, something that his mom had suggested we do since she said he seemed to be a bit down recently. He confided in us that his father's prize cow, Lady Buttercup, had disappeared and was probably somewhere at the bottom of Lookout Hill, as that was the only spot he hadn't searched yet. The Book of Rules still long forgotten, we embarked on a quest to save Lady Buttercup. Vegetables in hand to use as a lure, we took the trek out to Lookout Hill, somehow ran right past Lady Buttercup, but eventually noticed her and fed her a puffball mushroom to get her to head home. Unfortunately, Lady Buttercup only made it about halfway home, so we did have to give her another mushroom, but soon enough she was back at Cotton Farm safe and sound. While at Cotton Farm, we noticed a sparkly spot on the ground. I haven't mentioned these before, but these areas are all throughout the game and are able to be interacted with to find new and exciting things. This time, we encountered a conversation between Farmer Cotton and his daughter Rosie. Farmer Cotton was asking Rosie to go order flour from Sandyman so he didn't have to, but Rosie was refusing because she didn't want to enable her father's silly feud. Farmer Cotton then asked us to get the flour, but we didn't have the option to say yes. A bit of back and forth later, and Rosie finally gave in. I thought this was just a silly little interaction, but later on we will see more about it. We also somehow managed to pass off foraged vegetables as farmed one, which makes me think that Farmer Cotton may not be as good of a farmer as he acts like. Like, come on. What kind of farmer mistakes various mushrooms and herbs from around town for real vegetables grown in the garden? Either way, we got our reward of a brand new shovel, which we could use to uproot plants in our garden if we would like. Our new shovel safely tucked in bed beside us, we drifted off to sleep, ready to actually give Orlo the Book of Rules the following day. We began day 6 by watering our growing garden. I would like to point out that gardening in this game is so nice because you only have to water the planter box, not each individual plant. Some people may think that the mechanics of the game are a bit lackluster, but I do think that it is nice to not have to stress about gardening in the same way you do when playing other cozy games. We once again got lost on our way to Orlo and ended up in the Burrows' shop and home, where we talked to Nora and found that she sold new clothes. While all of the options were very cute, we were sadly still broke, so I made the incredibly brave decision to save my money. Instead, I talked to Nora and she gave us the recipe for Garden Green's summer style. We finally managed to track down Orlo and give him the Book of Rules, who sent us right back to Nora saying that he had things to do and she would know what to do with it. Before we spoke with Nora again, We quickly talked to Fosco, who we learned sells decorative items, and gifted us the recipe for simple sprout soup. We then talked to Nora and Fosco about the Book of Rules, but before we could continue in the story, we needed to become better friends with the other hobbits and wait for the assessor's response. We spent the remainder of the day running around the town gathering various forageables, which was quickly becoming my favorite part of the game. We also figured out that you can greet the ducks, which is absolutely adorable. Did I just talk to the duck? That's so cute! You can greet the ducks! Before we wrapped up the day, I invited Old Noakes and Sandyman over for a shared meal the next day to get our friendship up with them, since we actually knew how to make the food they wanted and had the ingredients for it. Day 7 started off right away with the shared meal with Old Noakes and Sandyman, who I served very good fish cakes and rich rhubarb pie respectively. Both gentlemen loved their meals, and we raised our friendship up to level 2 with each of them. As a thank you, Sandyman gave us the recipe for raised cheese bread, and Old Noakes gave us the recipe for magnificent summer fish soup. Walking outside, I discovered that our first crops had officially grown, and we harvested 9 whole taters as well as some basil. This inspired me to expand my garden, so we gathered up our extra forageables to sell in exchange for seeds, and got a good variety of things to plant. As we were planting the seeds, we discovered companion planting, a mechanic where certain plants grow better when next to each other. I went around testing all of the seeds with each other to grow them in the most optimal way possible, and a few trips back to Farmer Cotton's stall later, we had a beautiful vegetable garden in the making. We finished the day as we had been by going around foraging, gathering so many peaches, blackberries, and mushrooms. While walking back towards our home, we found a mysterious package on the ground, so we picked it up with the intention of eventually finding its owner. I finally checked my mail and saw a letter asking us to go to the Ivy Bush to attend a meeting where we would learn about whether or not Bywater was a village. Despite it being late, we decided to hurry over there before the end of the day. We arrived to find all of the hobbits were already there, and Orlo announced that the assessor had found that Bywater was... drumroll please... not a village. Nora explained the various things that the Book of Rules laid out as requirements for a settlement to be considered a village. These included needing to have various clubs so hobbits could learn new skills, hanging a wolf's head at the head of the village gate, and reporting any goblin sightings to the king. The easiest of these was the rule about clubs, so the meeting ended that night with everybody agreeing that we would begin getting clubs set up in Bywater once again. As it was getting really late at this point, we headed back home and went to bed after a great first week in town. The first couple of days of the second week were pretty calm. We spent the majority of day 8 foraging and fishing, attempting to find every summer-specific item in our encyclopedia. While exploring, we came upon an area we hadn't seen before and found Rosie Cotton talking to Sandyman about the flower her dad had asked her to go get a few days prior. Except Rosie had different plans, as she asked Sandyman to deliver 20 sacks of flour to the Green Dragon in order to make a giant pie to share with the rest of the hobbits. Excited about how the rest of that storyline would play out, we bought some flour and oats from Sandyman and then continued running around. We managed to find a forageable we hadn't seen yet, hops, getting us one step closer to filling out our encyclopedia. We did a quick bit of fishing to round off the day, and then we were off to bed once again. Day 9 began with us watering and harvesting our crops and buying some more seeds from Farmer Cotton to continue filling in the garden plots. We also had a shared meal planned for the day with Delphi and Lily Cotton, so we cooked a few meals for them. Our brilliant cooking skills were on full display, and the two loved their meals, leveling us up in friendship and earning us 2 new recipes: Amazing Autumn Tart and Cooling Embers. The remainder of day 9 was spent, you guessed it, fishing and foraging. While trying to find Farmer Cotton to sell some things to, we accidentally walked into a cutscene with Nora and Fosco, who explained to us that we should get started on reviving the various clubs in Bywater. They recommended that we start with the foraging club, but said that it may be hard to convince Delphi to lead it since she's a bit insecure about her skills. Day 10 was a rainy day, so we didn't need to water our crops, but we did harvest our first tomatoes, fennel, and box peppers. We decided to do a bit more fishing in the hopes of finding some new fish that only come out in the rain, but we had no luck once again. To make up for our lack of success with fishing, we decided to continue with the quest for the foraging club and went to talk to Daisy. While she was excited to join the club, her mom wasn't sure, so we volunteered to help Daisy with her chores to get them done faster. Keyword here is volunteered to help. Because what do you mean I came back from collecting wood and found her just sitting in the grass? Like, okay, yeah, just make me do everything, I guess. After that manual labor, Daisy was finally allowed to join the foraging club, so the two of us met up with Nora in the forest to suggest the idea to Delphi. At first she was hesitant, but eventually she said yes. She told us that the club activity might take a long time, so we decided to wait until tomorrow since it was already getting a bit late in the day and I was not about to pass out. This game doesn't seem to have any real consequences for passing out other than waking up late the next day, but since I hadn't done it yet, I did not want to start now. Most days start the same, with us watering and harvesting our crops and potentially replanting anything that needs to be replanted. But it is a bit repetitive to mention it for every single day, so from now on, you can assume that we tended to our garden at the beginning of the day, even if I don't mention it. We started off day 11 going right back to Delphi's house in the forest to let her know we were now ready to go foraging with the club. Despite the warning that it may take a bit of time, it went pretty quickly, as all we had to do was collect 3 forageables. Well, that's quickly after we patiently walked behind the group, who was moving at the speed of a snail to get to our starting point. Our next club quest was that of the fishing club, something that may be difficult seeing as Old Noakes is not really a people person. In order to get him to agree, we went to talk to a character we had not met before named Marigold, who suggested that we share a meal with Old Noakes as a way of softening him up before asking about the club. Since we already had a shared meal planned with Farmer Cotton and Hobson, we weren't able to schedule one quite yet with Old Noakes, but I made a mental note to not forget to do it later in the day. The vast majority of day 12 was spent fishing and foraging, something that you may have noticed is becoming a pattern. This is something that I want to point out regarding the game, as it may become boring or tedious for some players. The game is definitely not fleshed out the same way similar farming games, such as Stardew Valley are, which can make you fall back to doing the same things over and over again. While I personally have had a really good time running around fishing and collecting things, I know that this isn't something that everybody will enjoy, so I felt that it was important to mention. The only unique part of the day was our afternoon tea with Farmer Cotton and Hobson, who both enjoyed the meals we served, earning us a friendship level with each and the recipes for creamy pumpkin soup and lovely tater slices with eggplant. Immediately after the 2 gentlemen left our home, I scheduled a shared meal with both Old Noakes and Marigold for the following day. I wanted to make a good impression on Old Noakes, so day 13 started off with us doing our best to make a meal that he would really like. His craving was unfortunately not something we had the recipe for, but I knew he liked the fish meals, so we made him some salty, very good fish cakes, which unfortunately did come out as only 1 star. For some added context, cooking in this game is actually pretty complex. Each meal has a flavor and a texture, both of which add to the star level, along with the quality of the ingredients used to cook the meal. I can't lie, even after playing an entire month in-game, I still do not really understand exactly how you get the texture to be perfect. I usually just look at the image and hope for the best, which doesn't always work out, but sometimes it does, so I guess that's good enough for me. We made some spicy tuckburrow pikelets for Marigold and then began the shared meal. Luckily for us, even though the meal was only 1 star, Old Noakes still loved it, and we were able to convince him to lead the fishing club. Next up on the list was the gardening club, and our quest log suggested that we go and talk to Farmer Cotton, so we made our way over to Cotton Farm. Once we got there, we learned that Farmer Cotton had too much on his plate to become the leader of a club, but he didn't want to let his daughter Rosie do it either. So we challenged him to a growing contest. If Rosie could help us grow a better vegetable than he could, she would be the leader of the club. Rosie told us about a secret strategy she had learned from someone named Gaffer Gamgee. He had taught her that certain plants grow better when placed beside each other, something that we had already figured out on our own. Because we already knew this, we were able to immediately return with the 2-star shallot and prove to Farmer Cotton that Rosie was capable of leading the farming club on her own. The cooking club was next, and conveniently, Mrs. Cotton was right near us, so we talked to her about what we needed to do to get the club up and running. She asked us to get her favorite mixing bowl fixed by someone named Neffy, again a new character who we hadn't met. We followed the birds down a path I hadn't seen before and met Neffy, a dwarf who was a bit standoffish and seemingly didn't want to talk to us much. When we said it was nice to meet her, she replied by asking why we have no friends, which was a bit confusing, but we shook it off and asked her about the mixing bowl, which she said she couldn't fix without her best tongs. Another side note, this character made me really start to question how much content had been cut from the game. I thought it was really weird for a blacksmith character to be selling pork products like bacon or bacon grease, so I'm wondering if maybe there was supposed to be a mining mechanic of some sort that ended up being cut from the game, which if so is really sad because I like mining in games and I would love for something like that to be added in the future. After we finished speaking with Neffy, we walked around a bit and found her tongs on the dock below her forge area and quickly brought them back to her, allowing her to fix Mrs. Cotton's mixing bowl. We hurried over to bring the mixing bowl back and Lily told us to keep it, as she has plenty. This ended our fetch quest-esque club forming adventures and we were finally able to properly see what the clubs had to offer, after we helped Marigold find the old club boards, that is. In my excitement for the chance to get a backpack upgrade by leveling up the foraging club, I may have taken a few too many missions, something that I wouldn't realize until the next day. But for now, we went to bed, oblivious to the chaos that was about to unfold. We woke up on day 14, ready to forage as much as we needed to. The night before, we had already found all the hedge mustard that we needed just on our way back home, but today we needed to find 12 wild beef, 12 currants, and 12 raspberries. I very quickly began to realize that I only had 1 day left of summer, and I didn't know which plants would be available to forage in autumn. On top of that, I didn't know if the missions would continue over into different seasons or if they would reset. If I was gonna finish these missions, it had to be today. I locked in, scouring every inch of the map for the 3 remaining forageables I needed. But by the time night came, sadly I only had collected 10 wild beef, 11 currants, and 5 raspberries. I was so close with both the wild beef and currants and went to bed defeated, expecting to wake up the next day on the 1st of autumn. Except it wasn't the 1st of autumn. See, when I was looking at the countdown previously and it said 1 day left of summer, I assumed that meant that that day was the final day. But no, for some reason the day ticked over and said 0 days left of summer. Wait, I have 1 more day of summer. Oh my god, there's 0 days of summer left. I get you, but that means 1 more day of summer? Does that mean there's 1 more day of summer? Confusing? Yes, but I did not dwell on that and instead became even more determined to finish all of the missions I had taken. We started by going back to the area that raspberries are shown as growing on the map and managed to collect 5 more, putting our total up to 10. We went back down to Old Noakes' dock looking for currants and found the last one that we needed, completing that mission. On our way into the forest, we found a wild beef on a fallen log, bringing us up to 11. Right nearby, we found 2 more raspberry bushes, completing that mission as well. Please give me more raspberries. Please, 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 please. Please, I literally need 1 more. I literally need 1 more raspberry. Please, 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 please. Oh my god, I'm stressed. Why am I stressed about this? It's not even that big of a deal, but I'm over here like, that's a raspberry, right? That's a raspberry? That's a currant, isn't it? It's a raspberry! Yes! Yes! Okay, okay, okay. We're back, baby. I'm so good at this game. Oh my god. At this point in the day, it was mid-afternoon. Plenty of time left in the day to find the 1 remaining wild beef, right? Yes, it was plenty of time because we found 2 more wild beef on trees in the area, completing the final mission we had taken. Riding the high of actually managing to find everything we needed, we talked to Delphi, who gave us various ingredients as a reward. All of our hard work paid off and brought us up to level 2 of the foraging club, earning us the title Fine Gatherer. But sadly, the backpack upgrade would have to wait as that was the reward for level 3. The final thing we needed to do for the day was check our post box to learn more about the state of the village campaign, and we read a letter from Nora asking us to come find her. But the next steps of the campaign, including how we will manage to find a wolf's head, would have to wait, as I was pretty tired both in-game and in real life after the roller coaster of emotions that were those foraging club missions. So we headed off to bed, ready to explore everything that autumn has to offer the next day. And there you have it. That is my first month in Tales of the Shire. I am truly loving playing this game, even if there are a few things that I'm not 100% happy with. If you are really interested in playing this game, I say go for it. But if not, I would recommend waiting until it goes on sale at some point because it is pricey for what the game has to offer. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, commenting, or subscribing, as that does really help out immensely. And with that, I'm gonna head out. So I have a little saying over on my Twitch channel. I hope y'all have a great sleep. I hope both sides of your pillow are nice and cold. Okay, bye!